Under federal statute, the president has the authority, after we have passed a budget in Congress, to look at the budget and say, I don't need all this money to accomplish the goals that Congress established and instructed me to accomplish. And so the president can contact us, say, Congress, I would like you to rescind some of the spending in the budget that you sent to me. It's called a rescission bill or a rescission package. President Trump has sent us our rescission package asking the United States Congress to cut the budget by roughly $9 billion. $9 billion, despite the fact that it's a bucket load of money, is 1/10 of 1% of the federal budget. President Trump, whether you voted for him or not, whether you like him or not, ran on a platform of reducing the size of government. The people elected him. And since day one, the president has been very hard, if you've paid attention to the news, he's been working very hard to reduce government spending. And he's reduced a lot. He started out with the DOGE program with Mr. Elon Musk. Mr. Musk, of course, has left. But the quest to reduce wasteful government spending, which I call spending porn, continues. Every Republican, every one of my colleagues, myself included, has said to the president, attaboy, Mr. President, go get them. Keep issuing those executive orders. We've got a $37 trillion debt. Keep going, Mr. President. There's only so much you can do through executive order. An executive order issued by a president expires when the president's no longer in office. The only way to permanently reduce spending is to have Congress act. And that's what the president's asking us to do in this rescission bill. I mean, I've heard a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth and whining, and civilization's going to melt if we cut 1/10 of 1% of the budget. And that's coming from some of my Democratic colleagues. They're entitled to their point of view. But I want to put this in context. After all of us on my side of the aisle telling the world that we need to reduce spending, if we vote against this rescission package, refuse to reduce spending by 1/10 of 1% of the budget, we ought to hide our heads in a bag. Not all government spending is wasteful, but a lot of it is. That's why I call it spending porn. And you be the judge. Let the American people decide. The president is asking us to eliminate $5.1 million of taxpayer money in the federal budget that is there to, quote, strengthen the resilience of queer global movements. The president is asking us to rescind $6 million for media organizations and civic life for Palestinians. The president, in light of our $37 trillion budget deficit, is asking us to reduce a program in the amount of $3.9 million for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and intersex population in the Western Balkans. The president is suggesting that we eliminate a program, $1 million for voter ID programs in Haiti. This is your money, folks. The president is asking us to reduce the budget by $3 million, which is appropriated for, quote, sexual reproductive health in Venezuela. $3 million for circumcision, vasectomies, and condoms in Zambia. I didn't make this stuff up. It's in the budget. $3 million for Sesame Street in Iraq. $833,000 for transgender people, sex workers, and their clients in Nepal. $882,000 for social media mentorship in Serbia and Belarus. $3.6 million for pastry cooking classes, cyber cafes, and dance focus groups for male prostitutes in Haiti. How many Americans, Mr. President, do you think we should be spending their money to fund male prostitutes in Haiti? But there it is in our budget, bigger than Dallas, and the president is saying, cut it out. $6.2 million for Venezuelan migrants in Colombia, $500,000 to buy Rwanda electric buses. I love Rwanda. If they want electric buses, they've got a budget. $300,000 for a pride parade in Lesotho. $300,000 for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex advocacy in Uganda. $500,000 for biodiversity in Peru. I could keep going. I could go the rest of the day and the night. Now, I know what you're thinking. How in God's name, on God's green earth, did this spending porn get in the federal government's budget? Why would Congress put it there? I'll tell you why. We didn't. When we pass a budget, we pass budgets based on programs or agendas or line items. We don't put in there that we'd like to spend $5.1 million strengthening the resilience of queer global movements. We appropriate money by agency or line item. For example, we might appropriate money for the Economic Support Fund. Or if you look at our budget, you'll see money appropriated for the United States Institute of Peace. And if you look at our budget, you'll see money that Congress has appropriated for migration and refugee assistance. And then this money goes to the bureaucracy. And the bureaucracy takes the money that we have appropriated, for example, to the Economic Support Fund, and they decide to give it to their friends, usually non-governmental organizations, to fund these nonsensical items that I just spent a few minutes reading. Congress didn't vote to spend $3 million on sexual reproductive health in Venezuela. We voted for a program that the bureaucrats took and spent on sexual health, reproductive health in Venezuela. That's not an excuse, but I get that question all the time. Why did Congress vote to do this? We didn't. The bureaucracy did. It's a giant rogue beast. But the point is, Trump caught it, and his people caught it, and the president is saying, get rid of it. We would be better off. All these programs of spending porn, we'd be better off taking this money and spending it on tax, on scratch tickets and blackjack. We'd be better off taking all of this money that I just talked about and spending it on scratch tickets and blackjack. At least taxpayers might have a chance of getting a return. That's how out of control this is. But if you listen to some of my colleagues, oh my God, if we cut $9 billion civilization, if we cut this spending porn, civilization's gonna melt. He's asking us to cut a little over $1 billion for what I will call public broadcasting. When I say public broadcasting, I'm talking about the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. I'm talking about Public Broadcasting Service, or PBS. I'm talking about National Public Radio, NPR as we call it. We spend anywhere from $500 to $600 million a year on public broadcasting. Why do we do that? Well, we started doing it years ago, at least 50 years ago, a time when there were only 3 television stations and a few radio stations and newspapers. And a lot of folks in rural areas, they didn't get the television stations. They didn't get any news at all. They might live far enough away from a major city so they didn't even have a daily newspaper. So Congress said, you know, we want everybody to know what's going on in the world. We're going to start public broadcasting, and we're going to give them money every year. And they won't have to run ads because we're going to spend taxpayer money to give to these radio stations and television stations. Well, that was 50 years ago. Today, American people have access to all forms of media: streaming, cable TV, network TV, TikTok, Twitter, newspapers, those that are left. No one's in a news desert anymore. So why are we spending money on public broadcasting? $500 million a year. Now, the other factor, it's undeniable that public broadcasting has become political. Unless you've been a huge disappointment to your parents, you understand, if you listen to public broadcasting, that it's representing today one political point of view. The president of public broadcasting, no one would mistake her for Walter Cronkite, I can assure you. Her name is Catherine Mayer. This is her position. She's supposed to be delivering the news objectively, but this is what she has said. Trump is a deranged, racist sociopath. President and CEO of NPR thinks that America is, quote, addicted to white supremacy. She has denounced the use of words boy and girl. She says that's, quote, erasing language for non-binary people. She contends that the United States was founded on the basis of, quote, black plunder and white democracy. That's who's running the show over there. She's entitled to her beliefs. This is America. You're entitled to believe what you want. NPR and PBS And the Corporation for Public Broadcasting are entitled to publish and broadcast what they publish, but not on the taxpayer's dime. When we owe $37 trillion, and we really owe that money, we have no business spending $500 million a year giving it to any form of media. We don't fund CNN. We don't fund Fox News. We don't fund newspapers. Why are we funding PBS and NPR and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting? And all the president is saying, I don't want you to do that anymore, Congress. I don't want you to fund any media, any form of media. PBS, for example, has a right to publish what they want, but Congress shouldn't give them taxpayer money to do it. Let them go raise money in the private sector, and the president's right. The president is absolutely right. And that's all this rescission bill is going to do. It's going to bring a little bit of sanity back to our appropriations process. I'm going to end on this note, Mr. President. I'm going to end as I began. What you do is what you believe, and everything else is just cottage cheese. I've been here 10 years. Every one of those 10 years, but especially in the last 100 days, since President Trump was reelected and started talking about reducing spending, I've listened to all of my Republican colleagues encourage the president and say, that's great, we've got to reduce spending, we've got to reduce spending. Here's your chance. It's gut check time. You either believe in reducing spending or you don't. You either support spending porn or you don't. We're going to find out who does and who doesn't here